Strasbourg, summer 1518. No music, no festival, no celebration. Just a woman in the street, dancing. Not swaying, dancing, hard, for hours. People stop to watch, then someone joins her, then another. By the end of the week, dozens of people are dancing uncontrollably in the streets. By August, hundreds. Some will dance until their feet bleed. Some will collapse from exhaustion. And, according to later accounts, some may have danced until they died. No one could explain why. It began in July, in the city of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, which today lies in France. According to multiple historical sources, it started with one woman. Accounts written in the decades that followed the event, including one by the physician Paracelsus, remember her as the beginning of everything that followed. Her name was Frau Trophia. One morning, she stepped out of her half-timbered home, beginning to dance. No instruments, no song, just movement. At first, neighbors assumed it was a joke, or a religious act, or maybe a nervous breakdown. But she didn't stop. Hours passed, then a full day, then another. Her feet swelled, her body trembled. Still, she danced. The people watching her began to dance too. Within weeks, dozens had joined her. They didn't move gracefully. Witnesses described violent spasm, thrashing arms, vacant eyes, bodies drenched in sweat. Some screamed for help while their legs kept moving. They begged to stop, but couldn't. No one knew what was happening. The Strasbourg City Council handed control to physicians. Their diagnosis: overheated blood. And their treatment: more dancing. So the city did something extraordinary. Guild halls were cleared, stages were built, musicians were hired. Strong men were paid to hold up dancers who collapsed so they could keep dancing, which, unsurprisingly, made everything worse. By August, reports claimed up to 15% were dying per day, from heart attacks, strokes, or sheer exhaustion. But here's where things get complicated. Contemporary Strasbourg records do not clearly document that. So, did people dance to that? Maybe. Maybe not. But even without confirmed fatalities, something deeply wrong was happening. People were losing control of their bodies, in public, for weeks, and that terrified everyone. When medicine failed, the city turned to faith. Many believed the dancers were cursed by Saint Vitus, a figure associated with involuntary movement as divine punishment. Public dancing was banned, music was outlawed. The remaining dancers were sent on pilgrimages. Eventually, the dancing slowed. By early September, the plague ended, as suddenly as it had begun. So what caused it? This is where historians argue, and where things get uncomfortable, not because the past was strange, but because this can still happen. When belief, fear, and stress align, the brain can create real symptoms. These people weren't choosing to dance, their bodies were doing it for them. There are numerous theories on what caused this, so let's go through the most likely ones. One theory blames ergo fungus, a hallucinogenic mold that grows on rye. Ergo can cause convulsions, hallucinations, strange behavior. It's chemically related to LSD, but before anyone imagines a medieval rave, no. LSD wouldn't exist for another 400 years. This wasn't enlightenment. It was contaminated bread. It's even been blamed for the Salem witch trials, a dark chapter of history, but the topic is for a later video. But there's a problem. People poisoned by ergo don't dance for days, and they don't all react the same way. And ergo doesn't explain why outbreaks clustered among specific regions. Most historians today consider this theory unlikely. The second theory is the one most historians believe. This is the leading explanation. You see, Strasbourg in 1518 was a city of extreme stress. Famine, disease, poverty, religious fear, constant reminders of divine punishment. People believed God and saints actively intervened in daily life. Under that pressure, something snapped. What historians think happened was a mass psychogenic illness, a contagious psychological reaction. No poison, no curse, just minds and bodies breaking together. People weren't copying each other consciously. They were entering dissociative states shaped by what they believed was supposed to happen. One woman loses control, others, primed by fear and belief, follow. The dancing spreads, not by touch, but by expectation. Mass psychogenic illness doesn't mean people are pretending, and it doesn't mean they are weak. And we know this because it still happens. Even today, entire classrooms, factories, and towns have shut down because bodies began failing, without a single physical cause. In modern cases, entire groups have developed real symptoms. Fainting, paralysis, seizures, without a physical cause anyone can find. No toxins, no infection, no shared chemical exposure. What they do share is belief and stress. When the brain expects something to happen, it can make it happen. The body obeys the explanation it believes. In Strasbourg, that story was religious terror. The belief that a saint could seize your body as punishment. So, when one person lost control, others, primed by fear, followed. Today, even though the beliefs are different, but the mechanism is the same. Enough stress, enough expectation, and the brain fills in the rest. Imagine watching your neighbor lose control of their body, and knowing it could happen to you next. And why this is terrifying? Here's the uncomfortable truth. This didn't require ignorance, it required stress. Movements without consent, pain without cause, behavior without reason, and once it starts, it feeds on itself. One of the scariest details of the Strasbourg dancing plague of 1518 is that it wasn't unique. Similar outbreaks appeared across medieval Europe. Germany, France, Italy. Different places, different decades, and different names. One of the most common ones was called Saint Vitus's dance. Today that name sounds poetic, almost harmless. Well, back then it wasn't. Saint Vitus's dance describes people, often children, who developed sudden, uncontrollable movements, jerking hands, twitching faces, feet that wouldn't stay still. They weren't pretending. Centuries later, medicine gave it a name, Sydenham's chorea, an autoimmune reaction triggered by a common throat infection. The immune system attacks the brain and movement control breaks down. Real illness, real symptoms. But here's the unsettling part. In the Middle Ages, people didn't know about autoimmune disease. They knew about saints. Saint Vitus was believed to punish sinners by forcing them to dance. So when involuntary movements appeared, the explanation was ready. People danced in front of his statues during his feast days, hoping for mercy. Illness shaped belief, and belief shaped behavior. In southern Italy, the story changed. Same symptoms, same loss of control, but a different explanation. It was called tarantism. People believed they had been bitten by a spider. By the way, quick warning, if you're afraid of spiders, close your eyes for the next 20 seconds or so. Not just any spider, the wolf spider, Lycosa tarantula, a creature said to inject a venom that demanded movement. The belief was simple: if you didn't dance, you would die. Later, some blamed a different culprit, the Mediterranean black widow. Now, the bite didn't cause the dancing, the story did. It's okay, you can open your eyes now. The victims were brought into public spaces, musicians played specific rhythms, guitars, tambourines, and the afflicted danced for hours, sometimes days. But here's the part that matters. Doctors noticed something strange. People bitten by spiders didn't actually behave like this. No venom explained it. Even doctors who were bitten didn't start dancing. What did explain it was belief. The expectation that music would save them. The certainty that movement was survival. Once the music started, the body followed. The spider didn't cause the dancing, the story did. Some accounts describe dancers collapsing, gasping for breath, and when the music began, did their bodies wake up again. In Strasbourg, the explanation was scents. In Italy, it was spiders. Different stories, but the very same outcome. There is a name historians use to describe all of this. Not just Strasbourg, not just St. Vitus, not just tarantism. It's called choreomania, from Greek choreia, meaning dance, and mania, meaning madness. Literally dance madness. But choreomania isn't one disease, it's an umbrella term. A label historians use for outbreaks where people felt an uncomfortable need to move, to dance, to convulse, to shake, to lose control of their bodies, together. In some towns, people danced, in others they collapsed, or screamed, or twitched. Different symptoms, different stories, but the very same pattern. Sudden onset, no physical cause. Symptoms spreading through groups, bodies in motion, minds overwhelmed. These outbreaks almost always appeared in places under extreme pressure: famine, disease, religious fear, or their combination. Almost always in cultures that believed the body could be seized by supernatural forces. So, what really happened in Strasbourg? Was it illness, belief, or fear made flesh? We may never know for certain, but it's sure that for a few months in 1518, an entire European city watched its people lose control. No invasion, no plague, no visible enemy. Just the human mind under pressure and the story it tells itself when it's afraid. If you love strange history, cultural deep dives, and the darker corners of the past, subscribe and ring the bell. What do you think caused the 1518 dancing plague? Illness, belief, or fear made flesh? Mythcore Files is just getting started. Daniel out.